So we got to make a piecewise function for a graph. We'll start with this, and then we're going to put the multiple pieces going across here. First piece, second piece, third piece. The first piece is found by reading the graph left to right, just like you read a book. It's going to match what this piece is. This is a straight line, so this first piece is going to be in some form of y equals mx plus b. We need to know the m and we need to know the b before we construct that line. And the m is found by counting out a slope. Like it crosses right here, so that's a slope of down 2, -2, and to the right 1. So -2 divided by 1 gives us a slope of -2. But we also need to know the y-intercept, so we need to count out the dots until we hit the y-axis. So it starts on -1, and go down to -3 to the right 1, down to -5 and to the right 1, down to -7 to the right 1. And there we finally hit the y-axis when we get down to -7. So it has a y-intercept of -7. So that is our first piece. That y equals -2x minus 7. But you also need to tell the reader, you need to be able to make the piecewise function so that if anybody was to take a look at this, they'd be able to reconstruct the graph. So in order to tell the reader where this happens, this only happens when x is less than or equal to -3. Because the piece starts right here at x equals -3. You always define your pieces on the x-axis, on the domain where it can be. And this line doesn't happen at x equals 2, x equals 1, x equals 0. This line only happens when x is less than -3. But it can also happen when x is exactly -3 because we have a closed dot. So that's why I have the line underneath there. So that is this in the piecewise function. We've successfully translated it. And we've got another straight line here, so we're going to need to make another piece. We'll do this one in blue. And again, we want y equals mx plus b because it's a straight line, so we need to know the slope. And you can see it rises 1 and runs to the right 1. So the slope is 1x, and it crosses at 0, so it has a y-intercept of 0, or you might as well just say x, because 1 times x is just x, and x plus 0 is just x again itself. So that's the equation for this line right here. We also want to define where this line goes. And this line only happens between -3 and +1 on the x-axis. And I'm going to put less than or equal to 1 because we have a closed dot at the end. And I didn't put the or equal to symbol here because there's an open dot there. So this represents this middle line. And then we also need to represent the final line here. And this is the equation of y equals -3, because no matter what you put into this equation for x, it doesn't care. It just spits out y is -3, y coordinates -3, y coordinates -3. So this is one of those straight horizontal lines you've studied before. And we just are going to put -3 here, because on the piecewise function, this is like your y part. Y equals all this stuff. So y equals our -3. But -3 is only defined when x is greater than 2. We have this graph when the x-coordinate's 3, x-coordinate's 4, x-coordinate's 5. And we have it when it's close to 2, but it's an open circle, so that's why I dropped the line underneath. So this right here is our piecewise function that represents the graph.